is up? My name is Will. I'm here with my co-host,
Drew.
And this is the Nostalgia Test Podcast, a podcast where we go back to something from our childhood or teenage years. Maybe it's some music, maybe it's a game, maybe it's something else, a movie or something. And we evaluate it and our memories of it and see if it still holds up today.
This episode we've got something definitely music and definitely middle school, high school. And I feel like it's honestly that sweet spot that captures so many people. And it's going to be Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites by Skrillex. Before we go there, though, what have you been, listening to and watching? And yeah, how's your week been? And I know we're kind of moving into finally being able to do stuff outside. So like for me, my sisters came this past weekend and we actually ate outside. And I don't know, it's not like I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, that's like the coolest thing ever. But it is nice, like I can't lie.
Well, now it's nice right now because we've been stuck inside for so long, so it's nice to be able to start to open up to some of those things. Yeah, but what have I been up to this week? I didn't realize what a luxury eating in a restaurant was, so that was fun to go out a couple times, get some food, get some drinks, see some friends. What else did I do? I also went camping. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, went out with some friends. It was described to me as a cabin, but it was more like a shed, so I should have packed more. But we were because it is barely a cabin, we were out in tents and stuff like that. It was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds like the cheapest kind of there's the glam camping and then there's a shed.
Yep. Yeah, so it was basically just straight up camping versus staying in a cabin. So
we would have been camping this. I won't even say it. We had a music festival that got obviously canceled.
Sad. That was gonna be so much fun. Oh well.
I don't really think about it though. It's not as emotional as it really could be. So I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Other than that, things that I consumed this past week. Didn't listen to much music, but I went back to Jeremy Zucker's album, and that was fun to listen to again.
I listened to that this week too because I was summer. I don't know. It just felt a little bit summery to me.
I finished all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so that was fun. I started watching it because some friends recommended it, and I really wasn't into it first, and then I just literally devoured it within a few weeks. What else? And then on your recommendation, I'm finishing Adventure Time, and that was again one that started, really wasn't into, and then shot through.
Yeah, sorry if I spoiled the Orgalorg episode or character.
And then what else have I done? Oh, and then the Pokemon expansion pass came out. Say.
But no, the Pokemon, dude, the freaking the presents today was pretty crazy too.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely most excited for Pokemon Snap out of all that.
Have you played the original?
Yeah, much fun.
Same. I actually I'm not on the hype for that, which is kind of confusing me, and I'm trying to analyze why. But honestly, this is going to be such a weird thing to say, but the Cafe Mix game I'm thinking I'll be more addicted to because historically, Pokemon puzzle games can get me nothing else. I have an embarrassing amount of hours on Pokemon Shuffle just on my 3DS.
That's right, you showed me that.
And then it came out on the phone and I played it all over again. And then when I switched to a new Android phone at one point, I lost my save data and I considered doing it a third time, but I was like, no.
I was super into Pokemon Trozy when that was out, which was basically just Pokemon Bejeweled, but right. I was super into that.
Well, mine was Pokemon Candy Crush, so yours obviously wins.
Hey, both are guilty pleasures.
But yeah, I'm gonna do that expansion pass right after this, honestly.
Yeah, I've played for a few hours and I've done zero story except for the beginning fight that it makes you do when you actually get there.
Yeah, I'm so excited because it's all a wild area now, so I guess you can just kind of...
I think everybody agrees that Sword and Shield, we're not quite where they should have been for being, next-gen Pokemon, first main line on a console, Yeah. But one thing that, already diving into this one, you can tell that these expansions were more of what they were hoping it to be.
Right.
I just spent hours just wandering around in this Isle area, which is basically all connected like the wild area of Pokemon, of the main game. It's just like the wild area in the base game was massive, but a lot of the zones, other than the few massive weather changes, they kind of all look the same. And you see that same tree copy pasted over and over again. This is just so much more diverse an area, and there's just so much little environmental detail and stuff. So it
Awesome.
makes exploring feel like you're actually exploring and not just wandering over a plain that they pasted some trees and drew some water into.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, I'm kind of like semi-excited. I get so much dopamine from completing the Pokedex, and I got all but like 4 mysticals on Pokemon Home. So the fact that whatever, I don't even know. The new mystical they're giving out that I missed, I'm just so pumped to finally like get one more checked. And then I'll need like Hoopa and Volcanion and like the ones in X and Y and Sun and Moon that I like kind of didn't play the game as much then, but
Yeah, you're almost there.
yeah, on my side, I've been kind of really diving into like history and politics and really educating myself and doing my due diligence finally. I voted for the first time, which was less cool than I thought, but I feel good like kind of researching into like local politics and stuff.
Congratulations.
And I've watched a ton of documentaries recently. I highly recommend all of them, but I just started When They See Us on my sister's recommendation, which has been really good. And I watched 13th, which is so hard to watch, but so educational. And then Just Mercy on Amazon Prime, and that's like a drama. And I realize I love documentaries and I love dramas, but like there's a few that they get so real, and so I get so like tied to these people that like I honestly get like a constant pain and like tense, like anxious kind of, I don't know, just like a knot almost in my heart, and it's like awful, but it at least gives me more empathy, I guess. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also listening to a ton of Kendrick. Like I've been listening to this awesome podcast Dissect, which I know you listen to as well, and just going through to Pimp a Butterfly, almost like I've listened to this song so many times. Like every new episode I listen to, I like to space it out, but I kind of like listen to it all over again to get the context of like each set of songs and like the story so far and how the like poem builds. And like I love Damn and Good Kid, Mad City, but like this one I haven't like related to enough before, but after really learning about it, I feel like it's like one of the best like history lessons and things I've learned about like the Black community and African Americans and stuff, and just like also just human nature. And I think I particularly is like my favorite song based on the lyrics and like seeing how far he's come, and I can like put myself in that too. So
Yeah, I's a very good one on there. Off of that album, what do I really like off of that one? Wesley's Theory, every time going into it gets me just like, it just sucks me in.
yeah.
What else beyond that? King Kunta is always a favorite. The Black and the Berry are. So like, and then there's other ones like For Free and These Walls that honestly are more impactful, but they're almost like painful for me to listen to.
I know, and You as well. That one is just like, it's that same feeling. It's just like, oh, so real and vulnerable. I also got up to Giant Woman, so I was really doubting you when you said that last time, but then I was like, well, the episode is literally named that. In Steven Universe. That was a weird transition, but cartoon, going from all the serious, intense stuff.
You gotta have a lighter note though. Although just you wait until Steven Universe goes from being lighter to having
literally like I needed
tone.
like an escape in my life, and that was honestly what Steven Universe was doing for me. Was like, okay, it's just this fun little fantasy world that I don't have to think about like people hurting or like people fighting. I was like, yes, this is awesome.
just you wait. For now, it's not that, but then it'll. Then it will get serious. It still winds up being light because I think what I like about that show is that the main character has such like a childlike innocence, and you could tell like his caretakers are kind of more serious, like they're like more serious about everything, but then he's just like, oh, I just want to eat like cat shaped ice cream. Like, eat some French fry bits, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what you think of it later when it starts dealing with like how we process emotions and how we grow up and things like that.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've been ingesting some great stuff, but what are you ingesting right now?
So right now I'm drinking this beer. This is by Oscar Blues. This is called Death by Affogato. And it's
Ooh.
supposed to... Have you ever had an
Yeah,
affogato,
a few
the
times.
dessert?
Yeah, twice I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's supposed to be like that. So this beer, they made it with lactose, vanilla, cacao, and espresso beans. So
my
it's supposed to
gosh.
kind of be like that. You can see like really, really dark.
Yeah.
The head is like almost gone now. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
basically
right.
gone. But it tastes like melted ice cream and coffee.
Oh,
It's really good.
that sounds perfect because I love the like darker beers in general.
Yeah. What have you got?
I've got this Summer Crush from Yards. It's a new summer beer, and like I haven't had a beer in a really long time, but I'm like really, really like I have it in my little Surly glass too, and I always just get
Nice.
taken back to like my first beer, like summer, and I just have a lot of emotions tied to just like a ale kind of. It's like a citrus wheat beer, I guess. I don't really.
Nice.
I'll have to learn. I always have to ask you.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a wheat beer, so it's probably like an ale. And it sounds like they added some citrus element to it. Maybe they put some like orange in it or something like that.
Yeah, there's an orange that looks like a sun, so I think you nailed it.
There we go. That's probably perfect for this hot weather right now.
Yeah.
All right. So what is our topic for today?
Skrillex. Oh, you couldn't guess. Oh my gosh. This was like literally
Yeah.
our first. Well, I don't know. I guess you should go into because you kind of got me into him way back when.
So, how did I find Skrillex? So how I found Skrillex personally was I was getting into music. You actually helped me get into music a lot, other than like the music that I learned from my dad when I was like really little. You exposed me to a lot of things like Muse and Coldplay and a lot of like alternative rock and stuff that I was like really into. And of course I listened to pop because it's like I wanted to relate to people. So I listened to literally I would just like go to the iTunes top 10 and be like,
Same.
what's on the top 10 this week that I can talk to like kids about,
Yeah.
But I like the thing that was like my own was I was getting into electronic music that we've like talked about a lot before. But I was into house and progressive and techno and stuff like that. I was listening to Dead Mouse and Cascade and Daft Punk and Swedish House Mafia. Like that's what I was listening to, and not really anything heavier beyond that.
Right.
Like some Dead Mouse tracks were like the heaviest things that I listened to. So then this kid at school was like, so we were in our English class at the community college, and like we would talk about music and stuff like that, and he was into rock, he was into some indie rock, and but he was also really into like punk and metal as well. So we would like talk about like the different things that he enjoyed, and he turned me on to a lot. But I like told him like I was into electronic music, and he was like, "Oh no way, I've heard some good electronic music." And then in class that day, coincidentally, our like teacher was talking about how like our English teacher was talking about how like mediums change and things like that. Talked about how music is like being made electronically now. And she was like, here's an example of electronic music. And it was basically just like a pop song or an indie song that used like a sequencer. Like they had
Right.
sampled something into a sequencer and like played it out. But it was very much just like an indie song or a pop song. And then this kid who I would talk to about music was like, oh, like I wasn't thinking of that when I was thinking of electronic music. I was thinking of this. And he goes up to the computer that was being projected and throws on the first of the year video, which had just come out like a month before or something. And I was like, what is this?
Talk about an
And
awakening.
I think our teacher almost had a heart attack because, not only is that such a heavy song, that was like such a heavy song, but like the video for it is incredibly dark as well.
Well, the dubstep like synths honestly sound like a heart attack or like a telephone ringing very violently. Honestly,
Yeah.
like
So I was like, I'm not sure about this, but that was also coincidentally when another friend showed me Bass Nectar. So I was like getting into Bass Nectar, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go back and check out Skrillex again. So I had Scary Monsters and more monsters to listen to, and that's how I got to where we are now.
And how long was that before I got into him? Like, was that, I guess, in the fall, probably, like, early fall?
Just like a few months. This was around, so this would have been 2011.
Yeah, because I got into him in
Yeah.
2011, November, December.
Oh yeah, so this would have been, so I did around that like end of the summer, beginning of fall. So yeah, it was a strange time.
Yeah, I remember you showed me the first of the year video and recounted that story. I'm remembering that now, like, back in 2011, you, and I was about to say, like, why didn't you tell me? But obviously you did. And I remember I, like, rejected it because the vocals were just so, like, cute and like chipmunkish, and that's the part that turned me off, which was like so strange looking back on it. And then our friend Matt like shared with me the Korn album that came out that fall as well, and I was like, that's what got me into it, because I always loved that energy, I guess, of like rock music. But then I was such a nerd too, like I loved video games, so it felt like a culmination of those two things, I guess. I don't know, it
Yeah.
was just awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, all new, and at the time, around like 2010, 2011, up to 2012, that was when dubstep was taking over. And it was like a sound that nobody had heard before. And it wound up bleeding into pop music. And every pop star was doing a dubstep
Right.
beat under their songs. Like,
Yeah.
all of it, was one of the most recent true, like moments that changed the sound of the greater zeitgeist of music, because thinking like more recently how we have like the trap wave recently, but even still trap is built upon such deep hip-hop roots,
Yeah.
and truly dubstep is built upon some pretty deep electronic music roots too, on top of like drum and,
And
bass and
hip-hop,
jungle,
too. Like they share that
and
too.
hip-hop and dub reggae. Like, it's built upon those roots, but it also is so much its own thing. Whereas, trap, you can kind of, somebody's gonna berate me for this, but I don't know. I feel like you can like tie trap much more closely back to Southern hip hop than whereas like we're talking about dubstep right now.
Yeah, like I think so. It's almost like the UK America kind of back and forth with music that happens a lot, where they take something we created and they like make it way better. But in this case, it came from UK, and it kind of was the opposite. Which, like, I guess the people in UK are probably like shaking their heads, because Skrillex to some people ruined dubstep, because he made it.
True.
He made it punk, and he made it melodic, and he made it in your face. Whereas before it was this like subtle, it had like the dub and the like reggae elements, the very minimal lower range sub and like slow.
Yeah.
But then Skrillex just like turned it up to 11 and brought his like American rebellion punk, sound to it.
Yeah. You can look at old UK dubstep sounds, like you can look at Burial and Scream and Caspa, and it's like very different than what Skrillex did. But I mean, honestly, what like Skrillex did is what helped me like fall in love with it, because I was able, I was also listening to like Mayday Parade and My Chemical Romance, and I was like, wait. And then I was also listening to house music, so I was like, wait, this is just punk electronic music, and it was just insane.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it back to the EP we're talking about, was 2010, and honestly, it was kind of a combination of electro house, progressive house, and dubstep. Like, if you look at the EP, it has all of those through a lot of the songs, so...
Yeah, it wasn't just, although Skrillex was being classified as dubstep, that's not where he started, and that wasn't, and really still isn't today, 100% of his music.
Yeah.
It was definitely, like, a lot of, like, recess and stuff, but, it's really pretty diverse in all of its inspirations.
Yeah.
So the EP is Scary Monsters, which most people like. Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, which most people like consider his first real project. He had before that, he had My Name Is Skrillex, which I got to go back to and listen to, and he had the Weekend single. But a lot of people consider this like his first real release under the Skrillex name.
I guess it was like his first commercial release, because he was saying in an interview that like My Name Is Skrillex was just independent because he didn't want to clear the samples and like pay all the money, and he just kind of threw it out there for free.
Yeah.
And honestly, like,
I remember going to Blood Company's website, to like his old management's website. You had to like go through this, and it had like a MySpace link, and you had to download it. It was a journey.
Yeah. And before all that, he was the lead singer and did some guitar and From First to Last, and he's recently kind of rejoined and done a few things with them. But it kind of goes through his blood. It's like music has always been a huge part of everything he's done.
Yeah, and we can't forget his right before becoming Skrillex. he had a stint as a pop singer too that only lasted for like a year-ish or so. But he put out like a pop EP.
Oh yeah.
And it's really, it's if anybody wants to look it up, he's just called Sunny, and I think it's called, gosh, it's either called Gypsy or Copa Face. Mm-hmm. I think it's Gypsy.
I remember checking that once. Yeah.
Yeah, but that one's kind of cool too, because it's almost like the transition between those two eras of being in like an emo band and then becoming this emo EDM producer, because he starts to make beats that sound similar on this pop project, but he's still singing like he was on his days in the band.
And the cool thing too, just like not to get too far ahead, but like he kind of is iterative with every stage of his career. Like you could say that, you know, his like hardcore and punk kind of thing inspired heavily what he was writing under Skrillex. And then you can even look at like My Name is Skrillex and see a lot of those samples used in Scary Monsters. And then you could even look at like a lot of the songs and how he keeps kind of remaking them and like evolving them in subtle ways, I guess. Little callbacks here and there.
Okay, so I don't want to be wrong, so I'm going to correct myself now before somebody else does in the comments. And that EP was called Gypsy Hook, so it was almost right. I got half of it right. But yeah, that was in 2009, so literally right before becoming Skrillex.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyway, this EP, it's one of my, like, probably one of my favorite musical collections ever.
Really?
Honestly.
I was trying to think about it because I love all these songs so much, but like I got into him in 2011. I guess you did too, but there was so much other Skrillex material that like it's a little bit hard for me to separate this out. Not that I didn't like buy the whole EP and listen to it through a lot, but I could easily just look at like Weekends and the Cinema remix and the Levels remix and everything else, and like not that it's like an era, but it is his like earliest work.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's also derivative that like, but it's like the best groundwork you could ever lay as an artist. Like it's crazy.
Oh yes, for sure. And the interesting thing at the time that you would have gotten him into is he had all those remixes out. That was a big year for remixes for him. And then just like a couple months after you would have started, then Bangarang came out right after.
Right, that's the thing. I remember when I was looking at him, I was like, oh my gosh, Bangarang like just came out. I was like on iTunes looking at him. So yeah, it wasn't the most amazing time to get into him. Like not it was obviously the best time to get into him, but like I'm not like an OG fan. I mean, I guess more than some people, but
more than a lot of people, because a lot of people didn't wake up until they started hearing Bangarang and Kyoto and Summit and all those.
Well, no, I do. The parts of this EP I like are that it's not as commercial and as mainstream sounding as Bangarang and his like later work. I think it is more. I don't know. Like if you look, I was listening to his songs on SoundCloud, like Cat. Wait, what is that song called? Not Cat Rats.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of older songs that like you can really see how he got to this point.
Oh yeah, there's like an old Mayor Hawthorne remix up on his SoundCloud, and it's weird to go back to that point and be like, what?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's really neat. But let's run through all the tracks on this thing.
The other cool thing about all the tracks is 8 out of 9 of them like charted on Beatport within the first like 2 weeks it came out, and this was like his first paid release on Deadmau5's label, actually, Mousetrap, which is cool.
Yeah. Deadmau5 really put him on and introduced him to all the Beatport people, and yeah, there's this. Oh my gosh, this is we're delaying talking about the individual tracks, but I remember this old video. I'll send it to you after this. Of Deadmau5 like took him to the Beatport offices, and he's just like this little kid with glasses, wearing skinny jeans, and he like has his laptop plugged in, and Deadmau5 is just like sitting there like looking at him, and he's like. And he's like, this is the first track on the album. Like, he just doesn't have that confidence yet.
I think I've seen that video, but, like, I couldn't find it. I was trying to find... Is it when they play rock and roll in like, a studio?
Yeah!
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And wait, do you know what size jean he was wearing in that video, by any chance?
He's wearing, I think, size 27 skinny.
Good eye, mate.
Sometime we'll tell the story of how we know what size pants Skrillex wears. It's
Also,
less creepy than you
yeah,
think.
also this thing won 2 Grammys, which is crazy. Actually, that kind of blows my mind when I think about like the content on this thing and how it ever could appeal to like people that aren't young and understand the scene, you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. I mean, like Skrillex has won. I'm looking at it now. He's won 10
Oh
Grammys,
my gosh.
but for what he got for this one specifically was that he won Best Dance Recording and Best Dance Electronic Album.
So I guess that was for the Scary Monsters song, won the best recording.
So Best Recording was the song, and then Best Dance Electronic Album was this. I guess it's an EP, but I guess they counted it as an album.
Yeah.
It is. It is. If you count the remixes, it's basically as long as an album.
I also saw something weird that said there was like a version that had weekends on it, but like I didn't like look into that much, but
That wouldn't surprise me. That's not the one that I have, but
Right.
it wouldn't surprise me. So anyway, the EP opens up with Rock and Roll, also known as We Will Take You to the Mountain. And it's just a freaking... how do you describe it?
it's like honestly it's kind of like the essence of his spirit. Like I was watching the music video for this, which I forgot was a thing, and it's one of his best videos to me because it's just
Oh, I love all the tour footage and...
it's beautiful.
It's just-
And I
Yeah.
don't know if you had this thought. I don't know, did you watch it recently or do you just remember it?
Not recently, just going off of memory.
So I watched it yesterday, and the only thought I had was like, if you watch this and then watch the music video for Mumbai Power, he's literally not changed.
Yes.
He hasn't aged a day. Lost Boys forever, that's his thing. Peter Pan, never aging. Good people, good times. Like literally, he's had the same life for like 10 years. And like so many people, when they get like in the limelight and get, you know, huge and famous, they totally sell out, totally lose track of who they are. But this guy is just down to earth. And if anything, he's gotten better, like as a person and like how he's impacted
Oh, I think so, yeah.
the world. So
Yeah. Just like that spirit comes through here. You've got this massive electro banger right here. I love the variations that it takes. It's an electro song, so it's inspired by house, but the variations that it goes, when you're listening to like a house song, there are certain like gradual progressions it goes through, but this one, although it has that 4 on the floor beat, it just is all over the place in the sounds that it samples.
like it's just perfect. And I also love the like halftime drop that makes it more dubstep. And I'm a sucker for like anything that's house tempo but like has the halftime beats in it. Oh, love it so
Yeah,
much.
and that was pretty groundbreaking for the time.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you have danced to this song on Just Dance, but that was like such a big moment for me where I was like, oh my gosh, something that I thought was so underground is like on a video game that everybody's playing.
I forgot that it was on Just Dance.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I remember like, oh, how are they going to censor all these like weird little people screaming?
And then, of course, one of my favorite parts of this track, and it's kind of indicative of what a lot of people felt about the sound at this time at 2010, 2011,
Right.
is that sample at the end
Yeah.
where the guy is like, they're not artists because nobody can play the guitar.
Do you know what that's from?
No, I actually don't.
It's freaking from the Glitch Mob just like doing a public prank. Not really a prank, but they just went out in San Francisco and like did a live set on the street. And then they interviewed this guy and he was like, they're just a bunch of guys making noise.
That's so funny. And I mean, and there we go again, Glitch Mob, like legendary, pushing the scene forward. And I'm sure Skrillex was inspired by them as he made things like this, and surely heard that and sampled it for the song.
Yeah, I mean, it was in 2008, which just like that blows my mind so much.
Yeah. This is definitely one of my favorites off of the EP.
Yeah, it's
then it's
really
followed by-
underrated too. Like
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard it in forever. Like I'm sure he's played it, but like he definitely doesn't rinse it like other songs. Like it's not a like mainstream. I mean, it kind of is, but
Yeah.
like it's definitely like been forgotten in my opinion, or I feel like it's been forgotten.
Oh yeah. And it's not one he throws into every set and everything like that. So
Yeah.
definitely. And then following it is the title track. Yeah, how do you feel about this one?
This thing is, I mean, it's like the perfect culmination of this record. Like, it dawned on me, and I don't know, I feel like I'm not stupid, but like I listen to music in different ways, so I'm not always thinking critically about it. Like when I was first getting into Skrillex, I was more just like, yo, this sounds so amazing, you know, and like the energy of it, and like I loved mosh pits and like dancing and being able to like I guess be myself and dance without like having to, like you said, like look at the pop music and see what's popular and what other people do. But it was just a platform where you could just do whatever you wanted. Um, but I feel like the point of this album is really like scary monsters and nice sprites. So you have like super super dark evil, not really like evil, but like really dark, really really dark stuff, and then like really really hyper light, cute, whimsical stuff. And this song kind of lays that groundwork of like it's so like mysterious and like the weird vocals and then the crazy really really heavy drop and then like every like 8 bars it switches to this like beautiful melody and then back to the dubstep and then melody. Like I love the like flip flop of the drop where it goes, super dark melody, and it has a nice like ping pong, call and response.
Yeah, the melody is carried out throughout the whole thing, and it kind of ties it all together. And then of course it closes out with that little sample, which being like a very like emotional young kid, going through a lot of changes and things like that. That sample at the end, that's like, you don't need to hide, my friend, for I'm just like you. That like always was just like my little like, oh, that's like my comforting thing. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, the first time that we saw him live, the last song he played was the VIP of this, and the closing of the whole show was just like the piano of the melody with that sample at the end, and I literally like felt like a tear like coming out of the end of my eye. It was just like so emotional at that moment.
And I also loved figuring out that it's like reversed throughout the rest of the song. And I was like looking up lyrics for multiple songs of this EP, and like everybody has a different interpretation of the lyrics. And to me, like none of them are like lyrics. And I think the coolest thing that Skrillex keeps doing in music is like revolutionizing how vocals and like singing is looked at and used. Like he honestly, part of it is sampling, but he kind of uses his own voice, and he was like a lead singer in a punk band, and he like keeps singing in a lot of his songs, but he'll just use his voice as an instrument and like make it almost like a synthesizer. And the way he processes it and like affects it is just like nothing else. And I feel like so many people since him have copied him. And then you can even look at like Face My Fears and that vocal processing and that style, and even Where Are You Now with Justin Bieber. Like that's kind of the start of him doing that with like, he made Justin Bieber's voice into the drop synth lead melody thing. And I feel like almost everybody in pop music has like copied him since. Not everybody, but I've just heard that style so often since then.
Yeah, definitely in terms of this style of music, he definitely it's a signature of all of his most of his tracks. And we can actually think of some another group that we really love, another vocalist we really love, doing the same thing. Can you think of what song I'm thinking of?
Well, with Scary Monsters or with something else?
With like in a way chopping up your voice as an instrument to kind of sing in a way like that.
Oh yeah, I guess Porter from last week.
No, I'm thinking of somebody like way before that. And he wasn't doing it electronically, but he did a similar thing. I guess it was, in a way, it was electronically, but not like in a DAW. And the song that I'm thinking of is Muscle Museum by Muse, where Matt Bellamy plugs the mic into was it the amp or was it the fuzz factory?
Oh yeah, I'm like half remembering and half forgetting, to be honest. And I feel really bad about that, but I do remember like learning that and knowing that.
It might have been into the pedal and then into the amp.
Oh, but no, because he sings. Yeah, he uses the guitar effect as his like over his voice. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end, and that's not the exact same thing, but it's kind of a similar concept.
Yeah. Like I actually really got inspired by Muse with my own music I was making and Skrillex. So like manipulating stuff like that was always like really attractive to me. Just like to take something and then like make it something else. So I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. So after the title track is the third track, Kill Everybody, which always creeped me out, but it just slaps so much.
Yeah, and like I feel like this is almost in the same vein of like it's super dark, but then the track after it is super light, and it's almost like a lot of like punk and hardcore and screamo music has the like really really dark, like the most aggressive energy, but then like the most melody and like softness and vulnerability, and I feel like he translates that perfectly into this song, especially where it's like, who would even say I want to kill everybody in the world and eat their heart, like it's but like it's this like cute little voice saying it, and it's a weird thing.
Yeah. This one's over another 4 on the floor beat, but it kind of preserves the wobbles from his dubstep songs, and it's just
Oh
yeah.
I also love like
For being at this tempo, it's still super heavy.
yeah, this was like probably one of the heavier electro songs like ever, or at least at this point.
Yeah.
I love how
For
he
sure.
like makes the voice into a like dubstep synth in the intro where it's like boom, 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 boom. It's just such a nice effect. I feel like a lot of people have done that too. But
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's one of my favorites. And then after is one of the more subtle songs in the album. It's All I Ask of You.
and I love the transition with like I always thought of in Kill Everybody that one sound is almost like a hyena like barking. I always thought that. I don't know if you ever got that from the like whew, or whatever, the little woof in the samples or whatever the sounds.
Thinking of it, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
But I love how like that little sound perfectly blends into All I Ask of You, because but then it just like slowly brightens up.
Yeah, it's you don't know where it's gonna go in the beginning, and then it kind of blooms like a flower. I always consider this song, actually, I don't know if you feel this way, but like the precursor to Summit. Like it's kind of like he made this one so that he could make Summit later in terms of exploring this style. And obviously they're at different tempos, but I think sonically they have
and
a
like
lot
the
of
fact the way the lyrics are written, they just repeat the same like lines. It's almost like a poem, and they're both longer songs, but they just like beautifully blossom.
Yeah. This is a nice little reprise in between two super heavy tracks, because following that is a collab with and so All I Ask of You features the singer Penny, who at the time her name was Penny Bird Rabbit. And after is another collab, which is a collab with Bare Noise and Foreign Beggars from the UK. And that
also
is
super sad that one of the Foreign Beggars passed away, I think like 2 months ago or so.
Yes.
Like that hit me.
Yeah, not too
like,
long ago.
I don't know, I just like it kind of got me into hip hop, to be honest. Like before this song, I don't think I would have ever listened to hip hop, but like the little bit of hip hop that was integrated into like dubstep was what like kind of, set the groundwork for something I really appreciate and love, and this was probably the first song to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one that, so we were talking about how rock and roll's kind of underappreciated. This one is definitely
second that,
underappreciated.
I also, real quick, the intro, I always hear it as former beggars and not foreign beggars. Okay, because usually I'm like crazy, because like in Skrillex songs, like in cinema, I always thought it was like, jump to me, or like not a word. I don't know, I always heard it wrong. And then in Recess, I always thought it was like, I don't know, whenever like I see the lyrics, I'm always like just dumbfounded. So I'm glad I'm not crazy in that one.
Yeah, they're not the cleanest vocals. They're very modulated.
But yeah, this song, I don't want to like super interpret it emotionally all the time, but I feel like with this song, it's like the most inconsistent, as far as like the lyrics are more just like probably written by Foreign Beggars and more fun and more like danceable, and not necessarily like All I Ask of You or Scary Monsters that has something that you could like take deeper from it. But it's still a great, like, amazing song.
Oh yeah. It's kind of, and I guess with it being like a little bit less serious, it's kind of positioned at a good point in the album, like a little bit before the end. But yeah, this one doesn't get played out often, but I know every time I can find a clip of him playing this one out, I'm just like, and re-listening to the EP recently to prepare for this podcast. It's not a song I go back to often, but like whenever I hear it,
whenever like I forget about it, and then like months later when I like rediscover it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the organ is one of the most intense build-ups in any like dubstep song, honestly. I love it so much.
Yeah, Yeah, it's kind of the forgotten one because I'll hear people frequently bring up
Yeah.
every other one,
Oh,
but
did
then
you
this
notice,
one's
by
kind
the
of
way,
pushed to
that
the
they say
bottom.
fam in the lyrics? I thought that was hilarious because I
No, I
remember
didn't hear
fam
that.
became such a word, and like in like 2016 my like college professor was saying fam, and like it was one of those words that I just like wanted nothing to do with because like it got so mainstream and so overdone that I was just like, this is just a cringy word. But I love that like it's probably from UK, I'm sure, and it makes I've heard it more from that side of the pond. But I absolutely love hearing it in 2010. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wait, I just have to check that you know
Yeah,
what
it's just
like
like
fam
slang
is,
for
right?
like friend or
Sure.
like, well, yeah, of course, but like
For
it's more like
family.
fam. It's more like a friend typically in the slang, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that third drop, I like forgot it existed. So when I heard it this time, I was like absolutely mind blown and like taken aback. Like I forgot some of the sounds in it that like are just glitchy, and like I love the slow pitched like pauses in there, and it makes it like triple intense, honestly. And like when people say it's like Transformers, it I know it's very cliche, but with this song it's like so true. The sounds.
Yeah, for sure. And then of the what Skrillex wrote for the EP, it closes out with you friends.
Mm.
And this one is like, it doesn't fit into a typical genre of electronic music. It's kind of almost like an ambient or orchestral piece that just closed it all out. And well, I guess it does have like a house beat in it,
Yeah.
but with most of it kind of just being like I don't know, like a almost like a piano piece or like a singer songwriter piece even, and then it brings in that singing again, like we were talking about before, using vocal chops to sing, and you can hear some of the original lyrics come through, which I think is neat that you hear it like chopped and then you pick up words here and there.
I also love how it like you can have two different voices going on at the same time, and like it's almost like the Daft Punk style of like layering different voices together and like having different pitches, and it's just the harmony within the harmony of the not the robots. I don't want to be cheesy, but the harmony of it is really beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. It's just it's incredibly well written. It's like goes beyond just like a four chord melody and like yeah, it's like a genius closer.
Yeah. And like I think this one is cool because he's played it usually in the countdown to him. He'll have like 5 minutes going down to zero, and then he'll start his set. And I love like the really soft ballad he has. It has such a like nostalgic melody to it that I think anybody can kind of get behind, even if they didn't like grow up with it. Like I instantly loved this song. I remember.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like when it's not one that people just like share around. If you're sharing around a song, you're
Yeah.
probably sharing Scary Monsters or Kill Everybody. So I remember listening through the EP the first time and getting to it, and I was just like, wow, that was like a really beautiful way to end it.
Yeah, and it's like the perfect thing I keep bringing up of like the light dark kind of synthesis of like it starts with just rock and roll, which is just like kind of his spirit, but then Scary Monsters is really dark and has like some light in it, and then like this one closes with like a super happy ending, and like I love my friends and like good people, good times, like, and I guess that was in rock and roll, but like it's just like I don't know, it's just so cool to like get two parts of his heart, I guess, like he's just so vulnerable, even in 2010 with like dubstep.
Yeah, we fell in love with gravity, but did we really need it to find our love? Like always, like made me think a lot, and it may not even have like a super serious meaning, but definitely like like 15, 16-year-old Will was like thinking about it, like
Yeah.
this is like super deep.
Wait, which part
And
is
even
that?
if it wasn't meant to be deep, that's the vocal.
At the end?
No, at the beginning.
Wait,
That's what the chop is.
I thought it was just. Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, that's what it's chopped up of.
Wait, is it from a different song, or do you
Uh,
know what it's sampling? Or chat?
No, it's his own voice. It's just his own
Oh,
voice.
right. Okay.
Yeah. But like, and I mean, it like, even if it wasn't meant to be deep, it like didn't need to, because it just like impacted me.
Right.
Kind of like the end of Scary Monsters.
Yeah, I think all the lyrics of these songs, they're so meaningful to me because you can interpret them. Like, they mean something different to me now listening to it than they did when I was like 13 listening to it. Like, you can kind of apply it to whatever you're going through. And I saw he was actually interviewed about like how like the light and dark is played into it, and like how his fans interpret the music and like draw emotion out of it. And he said it was like awesome if you just think it sounds awesome and you want to dance to it, or if you can find some deeper meaning, that's like awesome too. And I love that like it kind of just backs up what I was saying about the like you can analyze it harder, or you can just like, you know, mosh and dance to it. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of closes out what he wrote for it, but there are 3 remixes at the end, which is awesome that he was already getting remix support at this point in time.
Yeah.
Especially from a group that was, at the time, so huge in the bass scene. And that would be Noisia.
Yeah, I love too that these remixers are all like from UK, and they're all, not that he's not authentic, but like he definitely tributes the roots in all of his music. Like, especially going forward, he keeps tributing the old genres and really respecting everybody in the music scene.
Yeah, for sure. So we got the Noisia remix of Scary Monsters, and that one is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm not like crazy for this one. I don't like that weird like growl sound before the drop, like it just sounds like a grumbling tummy. And to me, like, I just prefer the original by far. But
oh, me too, for sure. Although I think it's nice that Noisia put their touch on it. And then the same song got a Zed remix, which kind of brings it up to like a house song.
yeah, and I love the like halftime again, the house halftime at the second drop for like it's only for a split second, but it like really gets me still.
My God.
Also, I was looking up the sample for like that thing, the cup stacking video.
The cup stacking.
And she says, "Oh my gosh!" This whole time I thought it was "Oh my god," and like it's not a big deal, but I just think that's hilarious that it's like, I just think that's really funny for some reason.
I think it's the way it's like cut at the end makes it sound like that. And then the last one is my favorite of the remixes, and that's the Kill Everybody Bear Noise remix.
Yeah, this one I'm also not crazy for, but I also didn't listen to it much back in the day, so...
Yeah, for me, I like this one. I think I still prefer the original over it. None of these remixes really change, none of the remixes, like, I put over the originals, but I do like how the Bear Noise remix puts it at, like, at a faster tempo. So that's nice.
I kind of actually dislike when the drums go faster, like, in a house way. I just think it doesn't sound as good as like the halftime that the rest of the song is in. But besides that, I also found a Cone Sound remix of Kill Everybody that I never knew existed. And I don't think it was official in any way, but like I love that remix for sure. So I definitely recommend giving that a little listen.
Dang. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. So how would you kind of sum up this whole EP?
I mean, for me, it's not my favorite work of his, and I think based on so I hate when DJs don't play their old work and they only play their new music and other new music that's coming out. I love when people play originals, but I think with Skrillex, he usually honors that and plays off his old tracks. But there are a few on this that he doesn't, and I think that's for a reason. I think Kill Everybody, I think Scada, I think Rock and Roll, they're great and they're really, really good, but I just think they don't really hold up as well as the other songs. And I think the nostalgia gets me more than like Scary Monsters and All I Ask of You and With You Friends, I think are like so timeless. So I think it's like a lukewarm, but if you've listened to like a few of these singles, definitely check them all out because like they're so good overall.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the opposite in that this is, and this might surprise you, my favorite thing he's ever done.
Wow, that is surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I would put like other like I would put Bangarang and Recess pretty close to it. Like they're not, the gap is not that huge. If anything, I would like kind of put them parallel. But I just love how this EP pushed everything at the time, and like I like really listening to it today. Like these are always gonna have a special place for me, and I don't know if anything else can top them.
Do you remember? So just for full disclosure, this is like my favorite artist, and I'm pretty sure he's still yours, right?
Not my most favorite, but definitely like within top 10 or top 5.
Okay. But I remember one time you pulled a crazy prank on me where you were like totally not a fan of Skrillex anymore, and you were like fighting me for like 10 minutes. And I kept like being in disbelief. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just yesterday you were just. That was like the funniest thing.
Yeah, that was in retrospect. That was like a really bad prank, but the reaction I can still remember that in my mind was amazing.
Because I'm just the most gullible person.
You were like, "What?" But like, no.
I'm like so gullible though, so like I can imagine it was fun on your end. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that's time.
I also love the 12th Planet video of him like playing Scary Monsters way before it came out, and I was thinking like, what do the other people think? Like, do they know how monumental of a moment this is and how much of an impact this song is going to have on everything? It's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't even... Crazy. Well, Drew, I had a lot of fun talking about this whole EP with you. That's done so much for us. That's such a staple in our hearts. Yeah. But before we close it out today, do we have any questions from our listeners?
We got another one from Caroline. And this one, you could take it a few ways, like the last one, but what's something that you wish people knew about you?
That I wish people knew about me? I wish people knew, and usually this is not something that people want other people to know about them, but I really wish that people knew that I was very, like, insecure in myself. I definitely have, like, some very weird hobbies and interests, and I'm unabashedly for them. So I'm not really insecure in that way, like, oh, I don't feel comfortable that I like this thing and people knowing this thing. But I'm definitely, like, very insecure about people coming to understand me and know me better, and having a lot of fears about people's perception of me and stuff. So I wish, honestly, that people did know that, because I don't think I put that off that often.
Yeah.
And I think the inverse can possibly seem kind of callous at times. So I do kind of wish that people knew that I'm not really that confident in myself.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go that route, and I was like kind of confused on how to interpret it. But going off of that, I feel almost the same way. Like, I used to be the most shy kid until college, and then I kind of like had to open up because like I was all on my own. I didn't know anybody, and I had to work with so many people that were so different that, like, I don't know, I just became more extroverted and more like rambunctious, and like I had a different character and I had a different like persona. But I still had a lot of social anxiety, and I still do now. And I always would, whenever I would tell somebody that like they would just be shocked and like almost fight me about it. And I feel like that happens with so many people. But I'm happy because I can like empathize with the people that people know are shy and quiet, on their side and stuff, because I know how that feels entirely. But I kind of, like you, wish that people knew that side of me, that didn't see the like crazy, unabashed side, but like saw that that's almost like a way to cover up what's underneath, but you don't need to hide, my friend, for I'm just like you. Wow.
Yeah, it's a good answer. All right, now my question comes from my friend Billy, and Billy asks us how how many apes do you think your friend can fit in his mouth? And then he says, same question for him, but about you. So I'm gonna say how many apes I think you can fit in your mouth, and you're gonna say how many apes you think I can fit.
I've heard people-sized turtle or the horse-sized, like I've heard about that, but like this one is.
All right, so my answer is, I was thinking about this question a lot. It's a very philosophical question. So I googled smallest primate, and the smallest primate is the pygmy mouse lemur, which is 12 to 13 centimeters long, or about 4 inches. So I think you could fit like 3 pygmy mouse lemurs in your mouth. So yeah, three apes in your mouth.
My mouth is above average, so I guess I'll give you that.
How many apes can I fit in my mouth? Yeah.
There's a physics question here of like breaking your jaw. I mean,
yeah, that's true. I guess if it was like detached, I could fit more apes in my mouth.
Is just probable. Also, you got to imagine the babies of those are smaller, right?
That's true. Yes.
So I'm gonna say technically, 5.
5. Good answer. Good answer. Wow, we have a lot to think about right now.
Yeah, this is wow.
Well, anyway, Drew, thanks for joining me this week. This was super fun to talk about like I said, this is my favorite project for one of my favorite artists, and close to being one of your favorites as well.
I also like wish more people would understand what he's really about, because most people, since he is like so mainstream, I wish people didn't just see him for his hair or see him for that one song or see him.
Oh, the hair was always like a point of the hair was always like something that people brought up a lot, and well, I think a lot of the people who only heard of it because it was kind of popular at the time didn't really delve into the personality and all of the deeper cuts and stuff like that. So that's something that is unique to us, that we delved into because we're in this scene,
Right. And I think a lot of people's favorites are the more, With You Friends and All I Ask of You. Like those songs, they go a little deeper in your heart than like just the fun ones that you can scream, So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, any other words before we go?
No. Listen to it.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us this week. If you've got any comments, please feel free to send them into us on our socials or in the YouTube comments. And let us know how you're listening to, how you like to listen. It's up on YouTube, it's up on Spotify, it's up on Pocket Cast, I know, and it should be on all other podcasting platforms real soon.
Yeah, and we also have a little playlist that has all the songs we talk about that we're listening to in the week to week, or the music we cover, or even a lot of the video games and movies have soundtracks on Spotify. So we'll just kind of keep that playlist updated week to week. So check that out too in the description.
Definitely check it all out. Talk to us. We'll be talking to you as well. And see you all later.
Bye-bye.